see it. So I've started recording, so welcome everybody to this Tuesday evening session. I think this is our 6th, and it's our second one in which we're having an introduction to something. Last month we had introduction to Mark's Gospel, and today we're having introduction to Take Time meditation. And Sam is our expert on this, our practitioner, should I say. Maybe we'll see if she's an expert or not, but she's certainly done a course on it and is into it herself. So Sam, I'm going to hand over to you, and I'm going to spotlight you so that everybody sees you. Oh, and I'm going to mute everybody, aren't I? Yes, let's mute everybody as well.
Thank you, Jackie. Hopefully everyone can hear me. If you can just give me a thumbs up, that'd be lovely. Thank you. Thank you all for joining me this evening as we go on a Take Time meditation adventure. Jackie asked me if I'd perhaps start by just talking a little bit about the background of Take Time meditation and in it arose. So Take Time was developed by a Methodist minister called Clive McKee, who I think is a Methodist minister in Kent, but don't hold me to that. Oh, Jackie's giving me the thumbs up. That's good. And Clive was doing lots of work as a prison chaplain and was working with someone who was new to the faith and really wanted to pray and explore prayer, but really couldn't quite find their niche. They were really kind of struggling with our more traditional forms of prayer. So Clive sat with her and took her through a Bible passage that involved visualization. And in that space, she was able to pray and to meet with Jesus and to strengthen her relationship with Jesus. And from that moment, Take Time meditation was born. It's based on the practice of lectio-divina, which is an Ignatian spiritual exercise designed by St. Ignatius of Loyola, who was around many years ago, way before the Central Norfolk Methodist Circuit was a gleam in anybody's eye. And he came up with the process of visualizing, of immersing ourselves in a Bible passage, which I find in my own practice gives me comfort, sometimes stretches me to think outside the box slightly, and I've really enjoyed using it, which was one of the things that prompted me to become a practitioner. Now, the big goal of Take Time is to enable people to encounter Jesus through meditation as a means of helping them grow in their relationship with him. And there are 5 core principles that Take Time meditation is seated around. Firstly, Take Time accepts everybody as they are. It values everybody equally. It assumes no prior knowledge of the Christian faith whatsoever. It enables experience rather than learning. and it allows an individual to encounter Jesus directly. So it's very accessible, it's not directive, it's very experiential, so it's based on our own personal experiences, and it can be very therapeutic as well. So anybody can come and use a take time session. Don't have to be Christian. Certainly, a number of atheists have used this form of meditation and have found a really deep relaxation within it. So I think there's something there for everybody. So we're going to go through a meditation this evening together. And this one comes from a passage in Mark's Gospel, which I thought tied in quite nicely with Jackie's introduction to Mark's Gospel that we had last time. And this is based on Mark 1 and it's verses 16 to 20, where Jesus calls the fishermen. We'll probably take about 20 to 25 minutes to go through the meditation. It's a guided meditation, so I'll take you through every step of the way. And somewhere in the middle, there'll be a time of silence built in, which will be your space to sit with Jesus and to explore that space and to rest with whatever comes from that space. And then at the end, I'll bring us back with some gentle music and we'll sit together for a while and then we'll hand back over to Jackie. So we always begin in a session by making sure that we're sitting comfortably, which is really important. So make sure you're comfy, make sure that your back's well supported by the chair if that's your thing. I don't know, if you're laying on the sofa, make sure that everything's comfy there too. So tonight's session will begin with a simple relaxation exercise. And then I'll count us down from 10 to 1 into a state of relaxation. This will then be followed by a guided Ignatian meditation in which we'll imagine an encounter with Jesus. Don't worry if you don't know much about him, your imagination will fill in the gaps. This is your experience. I'll then explain how you can spend the following minutes either resting in God's presence or returning to the visualization. Sometimes people worry that their mind will wander, but don't worry if this happens. Often it will wander to a place that will bring insight or healing, so it can be a positive thing. If it wanders somewhere unhelpful, just gently bring it back. And then at the end of the meditation, I'll bring you back to this time and place by counting back up from 1 to 10. And then we'll have a couple of minutes of gentle music. So we begin with our relaxation. So I invite you to close your eyes if that feels comfortable, or lower your gaze so that it falls unfocused towards the floor. And just focus your awareness on your breathing without trying to alter it. Now move your toes and become aware of the feeling you have in them. Let them rest and visualize a sense of peace moving into your toes so that they become relaxed and heavy. Now let that same sense of peace move slowly through your feet and into your ankles. As they begin to feel at rest, picture that same peacefulness moving into your lower legs and calf muscles. Then up into your upper legs and your thigh muscles. Now, as your legs feel completely relaxed, let that sense of peace move slowly up through your body. As it reaches the top of your chest, let it flow down into your upper arms, and then into your forearms, your wrists, your hands, your fingers and thumbs. Then let that sense of peace move up into your shoulders and feel any tension there just melt away. Let it move now into the muscles in your neck, and then into the muscles in your jaw and the muscles around your face, until you are completely filled. Now just rest in this relaxed state for a few moments. So I count us down from 10 to 1. At each step, just allow yourself to sink a little deeper into the support offered by your chair. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Picture yourself on a calm and sunny morning, sitting on the shore of the Sea of Galilee, looking out across the water to the distant hills. Feel the breeze coming off the water. There are 2 fishing boats pulled up on the stony beach just a short distance from you. As you look beyond the boats, you see Jesus walking along the shore in your direction. At the first of the boats, he stops. You know the fishermen who own this boat, Simon and Andrew. They have waded out a short distance and are casting a net into the sea. As they finish, you hear Jesus call to them, "Come with me, and I will teach you how to bring in people instead of fish." Immediately, Simon and Andrew leave everything and follow Jesus as he walks to the boat nearest you. The brothers James and John are sitting in the boat mending their nets, and Jesus says to them, "Come with me." At once they climb out of their boat and join Simon and Andrew. Just behind where you are sitting, Jesus gives the four of them instructions and sends them off. Picture him as he turns around and looks at you. See him as he walks towards you and hear him as he greets you by name. Picture him as he sits down beside you. He invites you to share with him whatever is in your mind, whatever is on your heart. Just take the opportunity now to share with him. And now listen as Jesus responds to what you have shared with him. Just be aware of any actions or feelings or images or words that he may choose to respond with. Hear him speak your name and wait for his response. Hold on to anything that Jesus has shared with you. Hold on to your feelings and be still in God's presence, resting in the warmth of his love, gently bringing yourself back to that place of peace each time you notice your mind has wandered. Or return to the story and ask yourself who you might be, how that might feel, and what is God showing you through that experience. So either rest in God's presence or return to the story. Now, very gently and slowly, bring yourself back to this time and this place as I count us back up from 1 to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed your time on the shores of the Sea of Galilee. Thankfully, we don't need to worry about any passports or COVID restrictions to travel there in this way, which is a bonus in these present times. And when you've all had a minute or so to just come round, I'll hand back over to Jackie.
Thank you, Sam. I was trying to get us both on the screen at once. Ah, there we are. Thank you. Well, I have been to the shores of the Sea of Galilee. I don't know if that helped or not in visualizing it, but I certainly felt I was there. Now, I think what we ought to do, Sam, is to invite questions from people. What do you think?
Yes, certainly.
So perhaps we need to go back to being able to see everybody. Right, I can see everybody now. Welcome to those that joined us after the start, by the way. Okay, it just said my internet connection was unstable, but I'll try again. Who would like to ask a question? If you raise your hand, and then you'll need to unmute. Heather, you'll need to unmute.
Where are we?
You're there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I clear my mind. It was quite good this time, but with like a relaxation therapy session, I find it really hard for my mind not to waft all over the place, especially when you're asked to visualize something. Not this time, it was different, but often it's visualize a favorite place. So you visualize somewhere and then someone walks into it, and you know what I mean, you're distracted. How do you empty your mind, Sam?
Oh gosh, how do you empty your mind, Heather? I think there are lots of things that will play into a meditation session. Certainly if I've rushed before I sit down and meditate, or if I've kind of brought unfinished business with me, it can be really difficult to kind of still the mind. But I think there's a great value in kind of seeing that for what it is almost, and for accepting that, for noticing that your mind has wandered. And I mentioned at the beginning, there's a thing particularly with take time meditation, that your mind might actually wander somewhere really helpful that might help to bring insight or healing in some way. So I'd never be put off by a wandering mind, Heather. It's always worth persevering with, I think.
Thank you.
Can I put my oar in? And I don't think, Sam, emptying your mind is the aim of most types of meditation, is it? It's much more about focusing. And your mind wanders away from what you're supposed to be focusing on. Because it's when you talk about emptying your mind that people begin to think meditation is a bit suspicious. But actually, all the different types of meditation that I've known about, it's not about emptying your mind, it's about focusing either on your breath or some particular word or focus, or in this case it was being into the Bible story. My mind wandered all over the place in that meditation. I shall have to watch the recording and do it again. Rosemary wants to ask something.
Can't hear you, Rosemary.
It's all right, she'll get there in a minute.
Right. I do centering prayer and have done for years, every week at Blakeney with a group that meets there. And we start with reading, and then we are quiet for half an hour. But I found Sam's dealing with it extremely helpful, because I admit that at centering prayer, my mind does sometimes wander. But I think Sam's gentle direction, I was totally focused. And I was indeed sitting beside the Sea of Galilee, which I have actually done physically. And I could see those boats and I could see the men in them. And my imagination came absolutely into life. I found it very helpful and very focused. So my mind did not wander. I was totally with it all the way. And I found her direction very helpful. I know that's not a question, it's more of a comment, but I did find it very helpful, Sam.
Thank you, Rosemary. Feedback is always appreciated.
Would anyone else like to say how it was for them, whether good or bad? Sarah.
If my experience that the opening sequence of really passing sensation around your body is the very helpful thing that puts you where you are. So I was very pleased when you started with that, because I think that brings you into the present in a very strong way. And I think that's very helpful. And if during the course of listening to, as you were guiding us, if, say, for example, you've got a hand on a knee and you're aware of that, that helps to keep bringing you the manner in which you brought us through that scene was very helpful.
Jen?
Well, I was interested that you didn't actually read the Bible passage. And so first of all, I thought, oh, I had to think about it. And then once I've not thought about it, I realized that it was quite powerful not to, because it made you think in very small data. You just got to each bit of it, bit by bit, rather than the whole thing. So do you, the question is, do you always not do the Bible passage?
Yes. Particularly in this part of the visualization, if you were in a take time group, you would have the meditation, and then you'd stop for some nice refreshments, a noggin of tea and a gallon of cake or something, and then you'd come back in again and recenter, and you would look at that Bible passage in its entirety, in its form, and talk about any kind of, I don't know, all sorts of things could come up, feelings, experiences, thoughts. And the thing that I love about it is that there's no wrong answer. There's no right way to feel, and there's no wrong way to feel. It's just sharing together and kind of being on that little bit of a journey together, which I really like.
Thank you.
Lynn.
Just say one thing, that I found that very helpful and very, very focusing and very relaxing. Just one technical thing, purely technical. A long time ago, when I first started off doing my house jobs as a junior doctor, the first consultant I worked for tried to teach me hypnosis. He was into sort of respiratory medicine and sort of trying to stop people smoking and a variety of other things. Now, it is a long time ago. This is, you're talking 1981 or something like that. So I can't remember much about what he taught me, but I can remember some of it, particularly at the start of what you were doing, was very similar to what he was doing and the sort of techniques he was using. Is there a parallel with that in that sense? I know you're not hypnotizing people, but this sort of emptying yourself, if you like, and concentrating on other things. So that's just a question. It's just an observation. That doesn't detract in any way. I'm not saying you tried to hypnotize us at all, but just purely, I found it very helpful what you did tonight, very useful. But it did bring back memories of 1982, and trying to be this chap tried to teach me that at that time.
Oh, thank you, Glenn. The honest answer is I don't know. I've not really delved into the realms of hypnotherapy very much. Are you sure you can't remember it? We've got church council tomorrow. I'm a bit worried now.
Unfortunately not.
Rosemary.
And you.
I think the bit she started with, making us conscious of our bodies and relaxing each bit of it. I had a very troubled group when I was prison chaplain, and I did it with them very much as Sam did. Getting comfortable. Because I used to earlier times I used to worship quite often with the Quakers, who are very particular about sitting comfortably and so forth. And I used to do it with them, and they came to love it and to want it. We didn't do it for long, only about 5 minutes. But I remember I was away one week. I can't remember what happened. I couldn't go, and someone else did the group for me. And they were absolutely furious with her. And they said, "What happened to our silence? We want our silence." And I realized how incredibly important it had become to them. And we did it every week. And in that noisy, troubled, awful place, it was a little oasis of peace and calm. And I think the way Sam did it with us was very much the way I did it with those prisoners. And it worked. We didn't, of course, do it for so long, but it was hugely helpful. I think we really ought to do more of it. I always love the story about Dear Lord and Father of Mankind, because John Greenleaf Whittier is a Quaker, and apparently that ends a much longer poem. And one of the things he really didn't like about the Methodists was they were too noisy, which I think rather sweet. And he urged them to be quiet. And of course, Methodists love Dear Lord and Father of Mankind. It very much loved him. But again, he said, we need to have time to be silent and to be quiet. And I think that's what Sam did with us, which was lovely.
Judith.
This might answer Glyn's question. There is the Laura Mitchell method of relaxation, which was actually used in antenatal classes. Certainly ring any bells with Heather, and it's very similar to what Sam was doing at the start, and sort of starting from your toes, working up to your trunk, and starting from your head, going down to your fingers. And it's very much about trying to feel that the whole body is supported and uplifted, so to speak, and there's no pressure on it. So that might be linked in with the hypnotherapy, Glyn. And visualization obviously is used a lot in, and so this is now a question, Sam. Well, it's sort of two parts, if allowed. Have you used the technique on anyone else? And if so, have you used the technique and it's failed because their visualization, even if you've taken them through a story like by the Sea of Galilee, it's actually taken them to the wrong place and distressed them?
Ooh, good questions, Judith. So I have, thanks to, I did my training last year, 2020, that was last year, just at the beginning of first lockdown. We've had so many lockdowns, and I've done a couple of one-to-one face-to-face sessions when we've been allowed to meet each other, and I've done a few little group sessions on Zoom. So I've used a few, and there are lots and lots of different take time meditations from Mark, Luke, I think they're now working on John, and from Matthew as well. Obviously there are no things like the nativity narrative isn't in there, because they're all parts where Jesus has effectively had a speaking part, so which not as a baby he wouldn't have done. So there are different ones, and I've I've kind of tweaked them. If I've known someone's come in who is in a particular place, I've made sure that the content of that visualization is nurturing and is considerate of where they are and what they're feeling. And the other part of your question, which is really important, and sometimes people worry about these things for sure, and as a practitioner sometimes it's a worry for me. I think, goodness me, what if people are come out sort of feeling worse than they went in? But sometimes people can visualize a scene but they can't picture Jesus, but that's okay as long as the presence you are imagining is him. Sometimes people worry that Jesus won't say anything to them, but the response might be through feelings or an image. Sometimes I've had a response through a colour. And sometimes people will worry or reflect that Jesus didn't want to be with them. And that's a really important pastoral space to explore with people then, and reflect on those feelings that go with that experience, and work with people to think about why, what was it for, and another really important point is that Jesus might say something challenging to us, but never destructive. So that's a really important point. And I think it's fair to say that there's kind of a pastoral and caring thread that runs through this, that you kind of acknowledge and recognise that people might need some more support coming out, and kind of a couple of sessions on as well.
Sam, can we tell people about 2 ways that it could be followed up if anyone's interested? One way is Clive McKee's website, isn't it? The Take Time website. Do you mind if I just say about it?
No, please do.
Because I think it's a really good website, and he's recorded all these meditations and in different lengths. So you can do it for 5 minutes, you can do it for 10 minutes, I think, or 15 or 20. And so you can choose what story you want to do, and then you can choose how long you want to do it for. But that, of course, it's then a disembodied voice talking you through the meditation, whereas we've had Sam kind of in person. So, but the other way is, Sam, you are willing to do it with anybody, aren't you? If a few people.
Yeah. If there are a few people, then I'm happy to put together a Take Time group, or I can do it on a one-to-one basis as well. It's quite what's the word? Flexible. That's the word I'm looking for. It's quite flexible.
And you've already done this, done sessions online, haven't you? So, in fact, you've done more online than you've done in person. Is that right?
I have. I did a set of sessions during the second lockdown. I've done a couple of one-to-ones on Zoom as well. So yeah, it'd be nice to see people in person.
Yes, it's like all these things, isn't it? Because obviously it's good to do things in person and be sitting around in a little group. On the other hand, you wouldn't have all this wide variety of people you've got on here, would you, in one little room? So there's advantages both ways. Would anyone else?
Cliff's got a yellow hand up.
Cliff's got a yellow hand up. Oh yes, Cliff, so you have.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say thank you so much for your type of meditation. I decided that I will not do that again. When I was introduced to meditation at Buddhist, Birmingham Buddhist Center, when I was at Queen's, I went to the sort of kind of meditation whereby it was painful to me. But the way you brought yours, trying to encourage me to relax in my chair, I followed it easily, and it was inviting, if I may put it that way. It was so inviting than the one which I did, which was very painful, because you just sit there and you are asked to, not to bend or whatever. So you remain constant, that kind of thing. It was painful. Others enjoyed that, but to me, the way you have brought it, it was really nice. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Cliff. It's being comfy is really important. I used to be able to sit in a full lotus, which is a Buddhist meditating position where you end up with your feet on the opposite knees. But I'm not as flexible as I used to be. So I enjoy the comfort of the big red chair now, I have to say.
Okay, are we coming to the end, do you think? Anything else, Sam, you want to tell us?
I can't think of anything. There'll be something glaringly obvious, Jackie, that I'll have forgotten, but just that it's lovely to see everybody, and thank you for coming and for giving it a go and for joining me and Jesus on the shores.
Let me say what's happening next week, because we're operating this pattern. And next week we're back to a quiz again, which I think Pippa is going to organise for us. She's nodding, so that looks hopeful. And in a month's time, when we're back to the introduction slot, I'm hoping that Sarah and Geraldine, who have joined us this evening, are going to do a session on Easter music. Is that what you think, Sarah and Geraldine?
Yes, we are. Thank you for asking us. We would hope to be doing some live music, but I know that there are issues with Zoom with the signal. And I don't know whether other people heard that, but the Debussy, Sam, was a bit fragmented. So I don't know where that was being played from. Was that being played from something in your room? The music at the end of the presentation?
From Alexa, who was right next to the camera.
Right.
Normally, in the past, I've played it from my from a speaker attached to my phone, but I couldn't do that tonight because I'm on my phone. Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit challenging, the technology for doing things live like that, isn't it? So we want it to be enjoyable, but we don't want it to break up and do things like that. So we're working on it. We will have something for this time next month.
That's brilliant. So it's the 4th Tuesday, I think, isn't it, that we're on at the minute? So 4th Tuesday next month. We look forward to Sarah and Geraldine's. And next week's a quiz. So Sam, thank you ever so much for doing that with us this evening and sharing what you know about it, and also sharing the meditation. And you do it in such a lovely way, and it's helpful when somebody has a calming, lovely voice, which you have. So that really helps. Okay, thank you everybody for being here. Each week I'm surprised how many people come on, pleasantly surprised. So I think we'll be saying goodbye to each other. Unless anybody else wants to say anything. No, let's all wave. Bye. Oh, I've got to stop.
Bye.